March 4th, 2011, from the stylish high-tech underground studios of Ribbit Media in almost wanting to be spring-like Warwick, Rhode Island, this is NewsUndies. For March 4th, 2011, this is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with these headlines. Mubarak finally gets the hint, resigns. Glenn Beck is an idiot. Gaddafi told people revolting, they stink on ice. Fox News pundit credits Mideast uprisings to Bush and Blair, demonstrates rich fantasy life. Apple unveils thinner, lighter Steve Jobs. Dubai could fall to people who want to pick their own leaders. New study reveals everything is trying to kill you. Wisconsin governor seeks to fix budget by neutering labor unions. Yemen needs its skin braced as citizen unrest grows. Up next for Wisconsin, annex Michigan's Upper Peninsula. And now we turn to chicken for our monthly 6-piece bucket of numbers.
It's getting old. Really? Do you have 9 more chicken puns queued up? Alright, here we go. 1.1. Percentage decline in same-store sales reported by Walmart. 32. The number of distinct transliterations of the name of the current Libyan leader as acknowledged by the Library of Congress. 57. The birthday John Travolta was celebrating in Hawaii when he was caught without his rug. 160. Death toll from New Zealand's worst ever natural disaster. 112. The number of possible spellings of the transliteration of the name of the current leader of Libya according to an ABC News blog post. And that's the numbers.
Thanks, chicken. When we have a month like we just had, we turn to Ollie Oliphant with a segment we like to call Look Who's Dead.
John Paul Getty III. John Nisbey, American football player. Gary Moore, Thin Lizzy guitarist and singer. Kenneth Mars, actor. Dorian Gray, actress. Perry Moore, actor. Ricky Bell, American football player. Jane Russell, actress. And that's who's dead. Quite.
Thanks, Ollie.
Hi, I'm Paul Torville, the guy behind, in front of, and wearing on his head, NewsUndies. If you enjoy NewsUndies, you can help support NewsUndies by going to the Ursus Pacificus Kitsch Cave and buying some kitsch. There's groovy shirts, awesome dummy head mugs. It only hurts when I care bears. So fuzzy. Groovy oval NewsUndies stickers just like this. And, yes it's true, NewsUndies boxer shorts. Aw yeah! Can be found on the Ursus Pacificus Kitsch Cave.
Rush Limbaugh. In 1969, a North African country with a very simple, easily spelled name was taken over in a military coup by a man with a name with which Westerners have been struggling ever since. Arabic, like Klingon, uses many sounds which are not accessible to the Latin alphabet, and so transliteration between the languages is an imperfect art to be sure. But the world press has made a complete pooch screw of reporting on this man. Saddam Hussein? No problem. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad? All over it. Osama bin Laden? Nailed it. Well, not really, but at least we can agree on how to spell his frickin' name. It's gotten so bad that if you Google the question, quote, how do you spell the name of the leader of Libya, end quote, you'll get around 806,000 results. That's how he's managed to evade U.S. efforts to oust him. Every time the heat gets a little too hot, he adds a Q or a D or an H, and suddenly, he's a different guy. Republican Governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker, has it in for labor unions. That's not terribly surprising, since he's a Republican, and as a rule, Republicans view organized labor with disfavor. After all, who wants the people actually doing the work to benefit from it? Well, in case you've been living under Iraq, you know about the unrest going on in and around the Wisconsin state capitol, but what is it all about? Is Governor Walker trying to engage in union busting? Oh, no. He's trying to lobotomize and sterilize the unions that represent the people employed by the state by removing collective bargaining from the toolkit available to the unions. Without collective bargaining, what exactly is the point of a union? Yes, I'd like to join a very expensive club, peopled by a bunch of folks with whom I would not otherwise associate if we did not have our employer in common. Oh no, I don't want the club to do anything important. I'd just like to pay dues, thanks. Oompa Loompas? Unionized? No. Seven Dwarfs? Unionized? No. Ants? Unionized? Not as far as we can tell. Why? Possibly because their employers never abused the power they have over the workers. The Munchkins of Oz had the Lollipop Guild. Think about that, Governor Walker. While there has been little official word from any of the major Christian religious institutions, it seems at least ironic that the city of Christchurch, New Zealand, has been spanked by an earthquake. Earthquakes, generally regarded by believers as acts of God, have damaged the Anglican Cathedral of Christchurch on 5 separate occasions in 1881, 1888, 1901, 2010, and 2011. The first incident was within a month of the cathedral's consecration. These repeated failed attempts by God to knock down this cathedral reveal several possible explanations. 1. God is no more effective than a mid-sized tactical nuclear warhead. 2. God doesn't know how to accept failure and move on. 3. God was actually aiming for the Catholic Cathedral of the Blessed Sacrament, Christchurch, and the Anglican Cathedral was just collateral damage. This suggests that God has crummy aim. Actually, the God has crummy aim argument has special meaning, since if you take the story of Lot's wife as historically accurate, and, who doesn't, then that means God's aim is deteriorating. Back in the day, zap, one woman, pillar salt, no problem. Now, I don't like that church. Oopsie, knocked over half a country. Sorry. Bad news for God. Pope Benedict XVI has made an exciting pronouncement. It wasn't the Jews' fault Jesus was crucified. This is a personal announcement from his upcoming book entitled Jesus of Nazareth, Holy Week, From the Entrance into Jerusalem to the Resurrection. Of course, the Second Vatican Council in 1965 officially lifted the blame for the death of Jesus from the heads of the Jews. At this point, Benedict's statement is little more than window dressing and backing away from earlier comments which many Jewish groups took great offense from. Some are calling this a great step forward, but what no one seems to be in a hurry to bring up is that the Catholics and other Christians think that Jesus is the Messiah the Jews were waiting for, and the Jews don't. No amount of interfaith dialogue is going to fix that.
I'm an atheist.
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 Blasphemy. In case you were just dying for up-to-the-minute info on William and Kate or Charlie Sheen, you're in luck. There is now a website for the upcoming British royal wedding. There's the royal family rocketing into the 1990s. And Charlie Sheen? Well, his meltdown can now be followed in microscopic detail, 140 characters at a time. These are technology stories. Sigh. NASA, in an attempt to endear itself to everyone, has released results of a study that shows a limited nuclear war could slow or even stop global warming. To global warming deniers, of course, the assumption that global warming exists and needs stopping is a problem. But the prospect of a limited nuclear war is not so scary. For those who agree with the overwhelming bulk of research that global warming is a real threat to human society as it is now, the thought of any nuclear weapons detonated in the atmosphere is unacceptable. Of course, both sides forget that the United States detonated over 300 nuclear weapons in the atmosphere, and over 1,000 in total, in tests with yield of pre-test ban atmospheric and underwater tests in the neighborhood of 100 megatons. The small nuclear war NASA's talking about? Total yield of about 1.5 megatons. Of course, they're not advocating such a war. They're just saying. With all the excitement going on in North Africa and the Middle East, there's a lot of talk about what the U.S. and its allies should do about it all. Here are Pig and Sheep with their thoughts.
We need to go in there and bring democracy to those uncivilized heathens. It's the least we can do for all the centuries of raiding, colonization, and exploitation. I mean, they're like children with their backward desert religion. What we ought to do is go in there and teach them about Jesus. Amen. Woo! As Thomas Jefferson once said, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Popular revolutions like those in France, Russia, and the British colonies in North America were necessary not only to unseat oppressive regimes, but also to foment and demonstrate unity among the people who make up the new nation. If the people of Libya or Yemen want reform badly enough, they'll take it. It's our job to stay out of the way. It's like when your post-adolescent young adult child runs off to marry the wrong person. Some lessons can only be learned firsthand.
That's what Pig and Sheep think. What are your thoughts? Email them to ovcomments@newsundies.com.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, John.
Look, I know everyone's been ragging on you because you can't eat salt.
Yeah, man. Ass.
Breast milk ice cream. Amelia Earhart, the pioneering aviator and women's rights advocate, who disappeared in 1937 while engaging in an attempt to fly around the world, has been the object of much speculation and conjecture in the decades following her disappearance. People claiming to have found her complete or partial remains or parts of her Lockheed Electra have been repeatedly demonstrated to be, in all likelihood, wrong. 3 bones were found in a remote island in the Pacific where Earhart is thought to have crashed. However, no one is really sure if they come from a human or a turtle. Scientists from the University of Oklahoma's Molecular Anthropology Laboratory haven't been able to conclude anything more useful. So why wouldn't CNN make such a big deal out of it? Charlie Sheen has gone from Charlie Sheen to Robert Downey Jr. to Lindsay Lohan to Mel Gibson in the space of about 3 weeks. Now, sadly enough, he's dragging his father and brother down with him. One hates to see a celebrity self-destruct like this, but then again, if that were true, why would Charlie Sheen be everywhere you look? And finally, and I do mean finally, we all saw this coming, didn't we? The Royal Opera House at Covent Gardens in London has opened a new opera, and I do mean new. It's called Are You Sitting Down? You really should have some smelling salts and a defibrillator handy. It's called Anna Nicole. Care to guess what it's about? Regular opera stuff, really.
Well, that about wraps it up for this edition of NewsUndies. If you see news that shouldn't be news, email your story tips to undies@newsundies.com. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Paul Torville. After that, I might be checking to see if this is Amelia Earhart's hip bone.
Not only to unseat oppressive regime. Damn it, there's a plane going overhead anyway. Oy.
That if you Google the question, quote, after all, who wants the people to actually... But what is it all... Fuck, a doodle-doo. As act of gods... Acts of God, singular. Acts, plural, of God, singular. Shit. The first incident was within a month of the cathedral's consternation. The cathedral's constipation. Right. Okay. To knock down this cathedral... God was actually aiming for the cathedral blessed... Shit. This suggests... Since if you take the story of Lot's wife... Farfignugan. Pioneering aviator and women's right ad... Charlie... Shit. Get so close to the end and fall apart. The whole world is coming unglued here. I gotta run upstairs. I gotta run upstairs and fix my hair in a little bit. This is just unacceptable.
Speaking of hands, do you mind?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, obviously. It's a wrench. Clearly.